Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw. Oh, okay. So it's a book cover, and the title is "You Are Not Alone." Mental health mentors take the journey with you. And the image is great because it's one half of it. It's a road that sort of forks, and so it's photoshopped road, I guess. So it's like a bike path or a road. On the left side, it's black and white sepia. The sun is literally right at the point where it says health and journey. It's right behind health and journey, and the sky is kind of say some clouds, and the right side of the image is color, bright green. So whoever designed the book for you is very talented. It's a very good photo. Oh, and it's great because there's this one figure who's in silhouette looking to the right, so to where there's brightness and color, but behind, like on the ground, are two shadows. And this is a very symbolic image. Why are we starting here?
So the idea behind the cover was to speak to the journey that someone who is dealing with mental health challenges or issues, that this is what this would entail. This is how you could, if you were somebody from the outside looking in, this is how you could view it. And the idea behind it is that the individual is somebody that may or may not be dealing with mental health challenges, and they have some decisions or choices that they can make. And that constitutes the fork in the road that you've described, and one side darker than the other side, lots of light on, certainly on the one side. And that's symbolic of being able to work through those mental health challenges with that individual. And what's also interesting is that there, with you on your journey, there are always others who are accompanying you, and that's the sort of the shadow type, the two shadowy type images that are there. Those are people that are with you on that journey as well, and they are helping you. They're guiding you, but also helping you in deciding. Okay, so which path should I take? Should I should I reach out for help?
Mm-hmm.
And so these are all decisions that, which the fork in the road demonstrate, is that I have all these decisions, ultimately one of which may not be one with a tragic outcome. So I need to be very mindful of the choices that I make.
Mm.
And as I put it, um, I need to, if I'm at a point where I need help, I need to step out of my closet, so to speak, and extend my hand and say, I need help.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hmm. So one thing. Okay. So we've never met. You don't know. I worked about 20 years ago. I worked at the Human Rights Commission in Toronto, and people who know me know that I get these phrases or I get these verbal ticks or whatever. And for me, for one phase, and now that I look at your cover, like "you are not alone" was a phrase that I was using rather, kind of playfully. And I remember I just sort of say that to people, like "you're not alone." Okay, so is this your first book?
Second.
Your second book? Very good. And it's available on Amazon and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
so why? What got you to the fork in the road that you thought, okay, this book needs to be written?
It was a combination of things. The initial rationale or reason for writing the book was some of my mentors and close colleagues said that, you know, you're working with people who are dealing with mental health issues or challenges. You should be writing a book about this, because the work that you do using mentoring as a way to help people begin and continue their healing journey, the things that you're doing need to be shared so that others can do much the same sort of thing. And so
Hmm.
there was that part. The other part was that as I started to do my research based on those comments, I also realized that I too had mental health issues. So I was, as a result of my 25 years in law enforcement, I ended up with post traumatic stress
Oh wow.
and was having to deal with that and the whole aspect of how that impacted my family and my circle of friends and all of those things
Hmm.
all played into that whole story of what it was like to go through that and so I needed to capture that in the book.
Hmm. On the podcast so far, I mean, just because it's a reflection really of my interests, and so mental health is one of the themes that comes up. Previously, I had one author who wrote a book that was, I mean, or she's written various types of books, and we got onto this track of, well, she had a phrase which was follow your dopamine, which was, design your life in a way that you're essentially choosing ways to place events or rewards where you're getting these dopamine hits. And I thought that was pretty insightful. So the question was like, do you feel that you need to go through this difficult road or this difficult journey? And who doesn't really go through a tough life of, like in your case, law enforcement, post traumatic stress? Could you have written this book without having gone through that turbulence?
I don't think so. In fact, I'm going to go way out on a limb and say no. I don't think that I could have, because what it's done right now for me is that writing the book has opened my eyes to all the things that are going on around me, and I'm more in tune with different situations, different things that have happened to me. And a good example is I lost my wife to cancer in February of 2021,
Oh
and
wow.
that has caused me to deal with grief. And
Sure.
grief is part of mental health, and it has an impact, a huge impact on your mental health.
Yeah.
And so, if I was not writing a book, and I probably I wouldn't have looked at the grief aspect in the manner in which I am looking at it.
Yeah. Well, the thing with writing is that because it's a there's a temporal aspect to it, right? Like you have to start somewhere and you kind of get to another place. For me to kind of think my way through an event, writing it down is a kind of powerful way for me to kind of, at least as far as my thinking goes, go, okay, this leads to that. And and in a sense, like for example, my one of my near death experiences was being in the tsunami in 2004, where my wife and I almost drowned, and writing that out gave that structure or that inclination to say, okay, so here is how I can think about it. Here's I can wrap my mind around something that is just so big and hard to comprehend. So, how do you feel writing has influenced your mentoring advice?
Well, one of the first things is that I've found that the writing is extremely therapeutic. So as I'm writing, I'm sharing what's happened, how I feel, and all of that, and then putting the twist on it or the spin on it from a mentoring perspective. So what are some of the things that I need to be aware of if I'm going into a mentoring relationship? What it's done for me is that I am very my intuition has kicked to a higher level than it's ever been before because now I'm finding that when I'm talking to people that we can very quickly get to a place in the conversation where we both share that we're both struggling with mental health challenges. And I was never able to, I could certainly do it with myself, but I could never get to that place with the person that I'm mentoring or talking to. we just didn't get there. But there's something there, and I don't exactly know what it is, that people are comfortable once they start to have that conversation with you, that they'll
Hmm.
say, oh yes, I've been diagnosed with this or that and all this stuff. And I never asked a question, to say, gee, I think that, you're struggling with mental health. Do you want to tell me more?
Mm.
I don't have to even go there, because they are now openly volunteering and sharing their experiences as well. And then together we can, obviously work together on a healing journey that both of us can benefit from.
So what's the difference between mentoring and coaching?
I got asked that yesterday, so that's a kind of an interesting, and the easiest way for me to describe that is that and this is a very topical issue. What's the difference between coaching and mentoring? But for me, mentoring is a lot longer term relationship. So,
Hmm.
for example, I have people that I'm working with that we probably have been 6 or 7 years in a mentoring relationship.
Mm.
And some of those are, I do leadership mentoring. And so I'm working with leaders and I'm plugging into them on an ongoing basis for 6 to 7 years.
Wow.
I Coaching is more, from my perspective, coaching is more structured, more the time frame of the relationship is more defined.
Hmm.
So it's, we're going to do this for this period of time, and then we're done, so to speak.
Mm.
It's typically, I see a lot of coaching is used for performance issues.
Hmm.
So they'll bring in a coach to deal with somebody who is struggling performance wise and deal with that.
Hmm.
I've also seen where coaching hasn't worked, and I've come in afterwards as the mentor, and I've been able to help that employee basically go through a behavioral change and get them back to being that productive employee that the organization can count on. And we've simply just done that using some basic mentoring concepts to be
Mm.
able to do that.
Hmm. Okay. Well, okay. So you are not alone. Mental health mentors and the journey with you. Okay. Doug Lawrence. You want to move on to the next photo, or is this
Sure. Yeah.
awesome? So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.